I'm the most transparent president probably in the history of this country.
Modi! 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 Modi!
Vice News is the fucking enemy.
At least 6 people have died and 200 were injured in the second day of protests against Indonesia's presidential election results. Supporters of the losing candidate, Prabowo Subianto, had protested peacefully yesterday, but turned violent overnight. Prabowo's campaign says they plan to file a legal challenge tomorrow, just like they did 5 years ago, when he lost to the same person. After spending 4 months looking into this photo from Virginia Governor Ralph Northam's 1984 yearbook, investigators say they can't conclude whether either of the people in it is the governor. They also found no evidence that Northam didn't intentionally submit the photo. The governor had apologized for the picture, but a day later denied even being in it, while admitting he had worn blackface once in the past. The lawyer best known for representing Stormy Daniels is being charged with defrauding her. The Justice Department says Michael Avenatti used a forged signature to trick Daniels' literary agent into sending $300,000 meant for her to an account he controlled, and only paid back half. Avenatti denies the charges, saying he was entitled to a percentage of Daniels' book proceeds as part of their agreement. Botswana has the world's biggest population of elephants, and today its environment ministry is doing something about it, lifting its ban on hunting them. The news may horrify conservationists, but villagers who've had their crops trampled see elephants as a threat.
President Trump was supposed to meet with Democrats today about one of the last bipartisan issues in Washington. The old classic, infrastructure. The problem was, earlier this morning, Nancy Pelosi came out of a meeting with the House Democratic Caucus about brewing calls for impeachment. And she said this.
We believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up. And that was the nature of the meeting.
That left a question hanging over Washington. Can Democrats in the White House work together, even while they're trying to knife each other? Everyone was waiting for some kind of sign. And the president had one taped to his podium.
I just saw that Nancy Pelosi, just before our meeting, made a statement that we believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up. I'm the most transparent president probably in the history of this country. This meeting was set up a number of days ago at 11 o'clock. All of a sudden, I hear last night they're going to have a meeting right before this meeting to talk about the I word. The I word.
All this seems to indicate two branches of government on a collision course with the I word. Trump's been goading the Democrats for a while now over impeachment. And today, he all but openly dared them to go for it.
Whether or not they carry the big I word out, I can't imagine that, but they probably would because they do whatever they have to do.
The person standing in the Democrats' way, weirdly, has been Nancy Pelosi herself. She's been working hard behind the scenes to convince members that impeachment will doom them in 2020. And it's hard to blame her. Pelosi had a front row seat to then Speaker Newt Gingrich's quest to impeach President Clinton back in 1998, and she watched it blow up in his face. Political scientist Alan Abramowitz tracked that election and published a paper in the aftermath that he called, "It's Monica, Stupid."
They were moving forward with the impeachment of President Clinton, and in the midterm elections that year, Republicans actually lost some seats in the House of Representatives, which is something that doesn't usually happen. And the other thing that we saw during the impeachment inquiry that time was that President Clinton's popularity actually increased. And we saw his approval ratings go up into the 60s at one point. So clearly this politically was damaging to Republicans. They just misread the country.
The whole thing cost Gingrich his job as Speaker. It's a story you'll definitely be hearing a lot more about in the next couple weeks. But it has another chapter. 2 years later, George W. Bush used the idea that Clinton was slimy to make this case for his election.
When I put my hand on the Bible, I will also swear to uphold the honor and the integrity of the office to which I have been elected, so help me God. Thank you all for coming.
But that was then. 20 years have passed. 20 long, weird political years.
In that political climate and that era, there would have been a group of voters who could be swayed one way or the other by what was happening. About moderate Republicans and maybe some moderate Democrats and independents who could be moved. But recently, there's just not much movement. It almost doesn't seem to matter what happens. People are kind of locked in to their opinions of Trump. And, for the most part, Republicans are going to support him almost no matter what he does. There's a very small group of people who are movable here.
Not only are voters not that movable, but these days, the insane speed of the news cycle makes even really big things seem like really small things, really fast. Viewed in that light, if you're Democratic leadership, why not just roll the dice? Stand up for the Constitution, please your base, and assume the electorate will basically have forgotten all about it over the course of the lifetime that is the 531 days until the next election. Over the course of today alone, you could see that argument, maybe, starting to take hold. By early this afternoon, Pelosi had added a crucial word to her messaging.
He's engaged in a cover-up, and that could be an impeachable offense.
The Trump administration is considering whether to change the way the government adjusts the poverty line for inflation. That's a seemingly esoteric question, but it's already provoking an intense political fight. That's because the poverty line, or the official poverty measure, OPM, is used to determine how many people are eligible for programs like food stamps, free school lunches, subsidized housing, and Medicaid. It was devised back in the early 1960s and hasn't really changed much since. Basically, it took the price of food items that the Department of Agriculture said constituted a nutritionally adequate diet and multiplied the annual price of those items by 3, since studies at the time suggested that families spent roughly a third of their income on food. So in 1963, if a family of 4 made less than $3,128 a year, it fell below the poverty line. In order to keep that number up to date, though, you have to adjust for inflation. Today, for instance, the annual threshold is $25,750. Right now, the poverty line is adjusted using the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The CPI tracks how the price of a basket of goods, divided into 8 major categories, that a representative American household might buy, changes over time. The CPI is great, but it isn't perfect. For instance, it doesn't account for what economists call substitution effects. If the price of beef rises and the price of pork doesn't, people might eat more pork and less beef, so their overall cost of living won't necessarily rise. Economists have come up with a price index that takes substitution effects into account. It's called the change CPI, and lots of economists think it does a better job of capturing the actual increase in the cost of living. The Trump administration is asking whether it makes sense to use change CPI instead of CPI to adjust the poverty line. You might think, of course we should use the more accurate index. But there's a catch. When you use the change CPI instead of CPI, inflation rises more slowly. That means the poverty line rises more slowly too, which means fewer people will be counted as poor, and therefore fewer people will be eligible for government benefits. The effect of switching from CPI to change CPI will be small in the short term, but over the long term, it could mean that hundreds of thousands of people who would have gotten Medicaid or SNAP benefits won't. That's why the Trump administration likes the idea of switching, and it's why anti-poverty experts and activists hate it.
Over the last 6 weeks, more than 600 million Indians voted in the country's national election, a record for the world's largest democracy. Exit polls show Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his party, the BJP, are on track to dominate India for another 5 years. If Modi ends up winning, he can thank supporters like Ankit Vadva, who's seen his fortune rise with India's growing middle class.
Business are going nice, we are getting a good profit, and these 5 years was like going towards a gold biscuit. India is growing.
Wadhwa's opened his third business, a wedding venue, and credits Modi for simplifying the tax code and for untangling India's infamous bureaucracy.
This is the entry which will be decorated. तो वहाँ पे सारा in-house proper आपका जो main course है वो वहाँ पर आएगा. And one more venue we have is a poolside venue. I'll show that also. Where India stands in the world, you can ask anyone, not from us. Now, yes, just because of Modi ji.
Yeah.
Yes, and just because of Modi. That's good. He's going great, and no one will stop him this time also. He's coming as a prime minister again very soon.
So you see real virtue in Modi.
He's a virtuous person, right? He's a virtuous person, and he's becoming a brand. He's becoming a brand like anything in India. So definitely, all are happy and all are enjoying.
Do you think I should move back to India?
Definitely. This is a golden time to come back.
When Modi ran for his first term, he played up his hardscrabble childhood selling tea on trains and promised to bring Achhe Din, or good days, to all by creating 10 million new jobs a year. Under Modi, India has jumped over China to become the fastest growing major economy. But that growth has mostly helped people who already have jobs in offices. Workers overall are facing the worst job market in 45 years.
मोदी सरकार की ऐसी नीति मिली तो किसानों का जो जीवन स्तर आज से 5 साल पहले था.
It's made Pratap Singh's master's in political science practically worthless, and he paid a fifth of the value of his family farm to get it.
मोदी जी ने वादा करा था, उसके मुद्दे पे हमने पिछले बार मोदी जी को वोट दिया था, लेकिन ना तो रोजगार की बात हुई. अब हम किसान के पुत्र हैं ना यहाँ खेती में कुछ कर पा रहे हैं. जैसे वर्तमान परिस्थिति में यहाँ 15 लाख रुपए एकड़ जमीन के भाव हुआ करते थे, वर्तमान कंडीशन में 5 लाख रुपए एकड़ जमीन के भाव है.
Who are you going to vote for this election?
जी, कांग्रेस को वोट देना पसंद करूंगा.
Why would you vote for a party like Congress that has had so many scandals?
जो भी भ्रष्टाचार होता है, उनको खुद उजागर करने का काम कांग्रेस पार्टी ने किया. जिनने भ्रष्टाचार करा, उनको दंड देने का काम कांग्रेस ने करा. लेकिन मोदी सरकार में जहां अपन तुलना करेंगे तो एक बहुत बड़ा घोटाला तो हमारे ही प्रदेश में हुआ व्यापम का, तो उनको वहीं पे दबाने का काम किया जा रहा है. उजागर वो हो ही नहीं पाते हैं. बाकी कांग्रेस जो है वो लोकतांत्रिक पार्टी है, जो भी ये साफ है उसके सामने, देश के सामने.
For a while, it seemed like farmer discontent would put Congress back in power. But on February 14th, a suicide bomber killed 44 Indian soldiers in Kashmir. A terror group in Muslim-majority Pakistan claimed responsibility. And Modi bombed what he said was a terrorist camp in Pakistani territory.
मैं आतंकी संगठनों को और उनके सरपरस्तों को कहना चाहता हूं कि वे बहुत बड़ी गलती कर चुके हैं.
With two nuclear powers rattling sabers, economic concerns hit the back pages, and Modi fulfilled his promise never to back down to India's regional rival. Tensions eased, but not before Modi scored major points, even beyond his Hindu nationalist base, branding himself as India's Chokidar, or guardian. Tej Bahadur Yadav was once himself a soldier in Kashmir. He's not convinced by Modi's tough guy posturing, and he launched a long-shot bid to unseat the PM from his district.
हमारे हिंदुस्तान को बचाना है, देश को बचाना है, तो मोदी को वोट नहीं करना है. ये हम पब्लिक से अपील कर रहे हैं सभी लोग.
मोदी चौकीदार है?
मोदी नो चौकीदार. मोदी जी नकली चौकीदार. हम असली चौकीदार जो देश की सुरक्षा करता है वो असली चौकीदार. मोदी नकली चौकीदार.
Yadav claims to have the support of 50,000 service members. But the election commission struck him from the ballot for a technicality.
सिर्फ तानाशाही तरीके से, यहीं बनारस में अगर मेरा पर्चा खारिज नहीं किया जाता तो मैं एक आम सिपाही, गरीब घर का लड़का ही उसको यहाँ से चुनाव हरा के भेजता. लेकिन वो तानाशाही तरीके से सब दिखा रहा है. हमारे इंडिया की जितनी मीडिया है उसको ज़्यादातर उसने खरीदा हुआ है.
At first there was a lot of discontent, it seemed, over the economy because unemployment was so high, specifically youth unemployment. But then the narrative kind of changed after the attacks in Pakistan.
ब्रेन वॉश किया जाता है हमारे यहाँ पर. तो खासकर हिंदू खतरे में नहीं है. जितने भी हमले, जितने भी चीज़ें होती हैं, सिर्फ चुनाव के टाइम पे याद किया जाता है, और चुनाव के बाद ना तो कोई जवान को याद करता है, ना किसान को, ना मजदूर को. यही हमारा देश का दुर्भाग्य है.
This brainwashing has taken on monumental proportions.
I am very excited to visit for the first time. We are comparing right now with Statue of Liberty.
Modi commissioned the statue, the world's tallest, to rewrite Hindu nationalism into India's history. It doesn't show a typical hero like peace-loving Gandhi.
Who's the statue of?
Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Iron Man.
Sardar Patel was a founding father who got that nickname for using force to try and unify the country. A useful narrative for the BJP, even if Patel never wanted a Hindu nationalist state.
It's crazy ना कि कुछ तो देखें कि हमारे इंडिया में भी तो डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है.
Symbols like this help Modi's supporters look past what he hasn't delivered in favor of what he's promising.
How does it make you feel?
Proud. Obviously proud.
Which could keep Modi in power for a long time to come.
I like your kurta. It's white.
ये मोदी की देन है. White. सफेद मतलब कोई गंदगी नहीं होती. वो इस बार में नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार बनेगी, कोई रोकने वाला नहीं है.
Live from the land that freedom forgot, the most listened to Second Amendment broadcast in the nation.
We can't beat any of these gun control initiatives at the state level or the federal level anymore. It looks like everything has to go to the Supreme Court. We're fortunate that the court is 5-4 right now. I still have a standing offer to anyone out there. If they want to take Ruth Bader Ginsburg zip lining, I will pay for the entire trip.
Anthony Calandro hosts a pro-gun podcast for about 1 million listeners a week.
I'm mic'd up, so careful what you say, because Vice News is the fucking enemy.
And he's the owner of a gun shop and shooting range in suburban New Jersey.
I noticed your business card says that you're a capitalist marksman.
I own Capitalist Marksman. I trademarked it. I own the domain, and I have it tattooed on me. See? Capitalist Marksman.
Oh, yeah. There you are.
Right there.
All right.
With the all-seeing eye.
What does that mean, though?
I'm a capitalist, and I never miss. Tune in. Gun for Hire Radio 416. Scott Bach is going to be on the show.
Calandro didn't build a podcast and social media empire by being a nice guy. He takes a hardline view on gun rights, a position that sometimes even puts him to the right of the National Rifle Association, like when it supported President Trump's ban on the bump stock. But last month, after years of agitating for change as an outsider, he won a seat on the NRA's board, just in time for its worst crisis in decades.
You picked a hell of a year to join the board of directors of the NRA.
I don't know anything else. I tell people I own a gun range in New Jersey. How much worse could it get? I can pretty much handle anything.
Anything, in this case, is an NRA that seems to be in disarray. In April, a series of news reports revealed that the organization, which is technically a nonprofit, is running out of money, while executive compensation has skyrocketed. That's drawn the attention of the Attorney General of New York, who's now investigating whether the group truly deserves its tax-free status. And there's palace intrigue. At the annual convention last month, then President Oliver North tried and failed to oust CEO Wayne LaPierre.
Are you proud of your freedom? Stand up and be counted then.
Are you team Wayne LaPierre?
I'm team NRA, and that includes Wayne LaPierre because he is our CEO and executive vice president right now. Yes. As far as the NRA is concerned, this is a small thing that will be cleared up when the Attorney General is done with their investigation. You will see full transparency of everything that's going on. Now the media is trying to get the NRA to have infighting, which is a horrible situation.
But some of this is a self-inflicted wound, it seems like. You had Ollie North stand up and actually threaten Wayne LaPierre and try to actually kick him out of power. I mean, that infighting is real. That's not invented.
Oh, yeah, of course. But what corporations don't have infighting? There's always going to be boardroom antics that go on. You load, close the cylinder, safe direction.
Calandro's full-throated embrace of the NRA has surprised some people who hoped he'd be more of a force for change.
I mean, as far as the people who follow you and love your social media and your podcast, some of them were pissed off. So why was that?
Yeah, well, because they've lost faith in the NRA, and I think the NRA has done a great job, but I think they do a horrible job of selling what they're doing. Could you imagine New York, New Jersey, and California, the most oppressive anti-gun states? These three states, we, the people who stayed in the states, the fighters, backed 100% by the NRA, will create the wins that all of the middle states that tell us, move, why are you there? No, somebody has to take a stand. So forget the infighting, executive compensation or whatever. My eyes are on the prize.
Make sure you get both ears.
Easy. I'm not carrying the party line for the sake of carrying the party line. Right now, I'm carrying some of the party line because I don't want to endanger us.
I've heard you say on your radio show that the only thing that can take down the NRA right now is division among its members.
Correct.
What do you mean by that?
And that's the truth. Well, we have division going on right now where people, if you get enough people discussed it and stop the flow of donations and memberships, that can take down the NRA. It's always like this power struggle. If anybody here watches Game of Thrones, I've compared it to that. It's like this fight for the throne. This who wants the Second Amendment throne. Let's just get the job done. Who gives a crap who gets credit for it? Let's just get it done.